and you give him money and he'll go, oh, it's fine, everybody forgives you.
It's basically my dad's funeral. Given the priest, right? Wait, I tell you about the priest. So there was a trainee priest, right? And then there was the actual priest. So the actual priest who I had obviously had the meetings with, and he's like, so it's £80 for the organist. And I thought, I could play the fucking organ.
$80?
$80, right? And I was like, that could go behind the bar for people to get a drink, right? And I thought, right. And he went, it's £80 for the cantor, like the singer who kind of chants the psalm and stuff. And he went, and if it's the same for the parish. So on the day of the funeral, prior to the funeral starting, old father comes over and he's like, how you doing? And I was like, I'm all right. And he said to me, I just seen Kevin coming in there and I've just realised who you are. And I'm like, this is not the time to be talking to me about fucking stand-up comedy. Literally, my dad's coffin's about to come into the
can't say it
pineapple.
anymore, is that right? You're a last bastion of free speech up there, because you can't make fun of it.
You're so fucking woke, McCabe. I bet your dad's glad he's dead. Right, so then, and he goes, such and such, and so he wasn't a priest because he was obviously in training because he was in like a kind of black cassock, and then he put on his vestments, but the vestment didn't have any colour, it was just white. And I was like, all right, he's a wee trainee, an apprentice priest, basically. And so I says to him, he goes, he'll be doing the committal. And I went, all right, okay, right. Well, I just give him this envelope I've got at the crematorium. And he literally, right, opened up my dad's order of service and he went, no, if you just want to fire it in there. And I'm like, okay, like fucking, and then he's closing over the order of service, and I was like, he's like the fucking mafia, you lot, man.
The taxman wants to have a look at these cunts.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? All these fivers and mass cards.
Aye, and I'll tell you another thing that he had that I noticed in the way in when I was in the family car. They've got fucking Sky. I'm like, I've just paid for that fucker Sky subscription. I am furious with the Catholic Church. I feel as if, right, you've got your taxes, like obviously you've got, I mean, it's quite expensive a funeral, right? And
sure,
you've obviously got the whole coffins and crematoriums and all that stuff going on, right? And that's not cheap. And that's absolutely fine because that's what needs to happen. But then it's like you get this additional Catholic tax. And I'm like, what the fuck is... And do you know what? I phoned him on a Monday as well. And the wee housekeeper said to me, oh no, Father's day off's a Monday. And I'm like, how can you have a day off when your boss is omnipresent all the time?
It's a big day on a Sunday, do you know what I mean? Rest up.
No these days. No
rest
these
up
days.
for the
It's
day of rest.
one mass.
I wonder if you're a cantor out there or you're an organist, are you getting $80 a pop, or is the priest
Taking a cut.
stepping in?
He's the
Not in
agent.
like a certain comedy club that I once performed at, where I remember they told me to pick up the cheque and we were all getting £100, £120 a bill of 4 people, and the cheque was for £1,200 and they'd taken, I mean, circa £700.
Yeah.
Is this comedy club still in the go?
Oh yeah, it is, yeah. But I wonder if there's a bit of that going with the old priests.
Aye, they're charging £50 and he's taking $30 off the two of them. And the same, and I was going...
How many cunts are dying a month? Do you know what I mean? Because they're old.
That envelope was fucking thick, right? And I was like that. Much of you gave the priest? Much. And she was like, oh, I just gave him the same for what I did the other two. And I was like, has he just made £160 off my dead dad? I couldn't believe it. I was just like, this is fucking outrageous.
It's a form of showbiz, isn't it, really, a lot of the malarkey in the religions.
Well, no, because his microphone technique was fucking terrible. He was a pure mumbly. And then the wee trainee priest, he was very enthusiastic. But here was the thing, see when we got to the crematorium and he was going to do the committal, the worst bit was because he wasn't in proper priest vestments and he was in training, he wore this purple sash and he just looked like he was in Star Trek. Oh. Do you know what I mean?
I know the very thing.
Yes. I knew you would. I knew you would. You can always rely on Frankie.
No completed his background checks yet.
I don't even know if they fucking do them anymore, to be honest with you. Mumbly fumbly priest charging you £160.
It's a franchise essentially, isn't it? So like you've got the backing of this. It's the McDonald's of religions,
Aye.
and you make what you want. Anything you can get into that wee MasterCard, that's yours. The plate, that's for the roof.
Aye.
And you know, all the major stuff flows to us.
It's like being the manager of the floor for McDonald's
Oh,
in
Jesus.
some sense. Do you know what I mean? Like you have the overarching umbrella capitalistic security, but ultimately you are in the wilderness.
Or it's like Brian Clough. You know, you get a wee brown envelope now and again. You scrabble what you can away at the side, and they take, you know.
I notice how out of all the football managers that you could have mentioned there, you mentioned a dead one. Well done.
It's like every football manager that's ever lived.
you went, I'm going to pick a dead one just to make sure.
He was like a uniquely freakish manager, Clough, wasn't he?
Oh, he was great.
He was a character. I don't know anything about football, but I've heard of him.
Character means bit of a cunt. doesn't it?
Mental.
Yeah.
No, it depends. In Scotland, character probably covered a lot of what we would now call neurodivergence and or mental illness.
Bit of a character.
I was thinking about this because my nana used to call me a queer hawk,
Terrible.
Oh, wow.
and now I'm like,
If anything, you're queer prey.
I'm queer dormouse.
You're just going to get scooped up by a bear, just puts you in his mouth, and that's you.
Yeah.
Takes you away and molligates you.
I was thinking about this because my nana used to call me. I used to think this was just a Scottish expression. Sorry if I've said this before, but my nana used to call me Rat's monkey face, and I always thought, oh, that would just be like everybody's nana calls them Rat's monkey face, but it's not.
Was your nana a bit of a character?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I would think
Your nana didn't like you, did she?
I think she.
Was this your mum's mum?
Yeah.
Right. Aye, she fucking hated you because she was like, that's her now trapped in this marriage because she's had the second kid. That's what
Goblin.
she's thought. She's like, this,
Goblin?
this fucking goblin is my grandson.
Nah, I was beloved by all. I was a baby.
Oh, aye, that's
Little
true.
prince.
I can't believe that you were a little prince, Christopher. You could never tell for the way you live your life.
Hard to imagine.
The Dauphin. Little Lord Fauntleroy up here, man.
Aye, just sitting in a wee cushion. That's you.
Do you want to hear the theory I had on the way in? You know, in the Puff Daddy, the Diddy coverage,
God.
and in the Russell Brand coverage, there was a lot of his eyes just turned black. They glazed over, and he seemed to be not really there. What if their bodies are being taken over by people from the future, aliens, whatever, who want to go on a kind of, I hesitate to use the phrase rape safari, but on some kind of human
A
safari.
time travelling,
Yeah.
molestation, sojourn, the way that you could go on a day trip.
Or maybe they sense themselves get taken over. You're Puff Daddy, you feel the alien take you over, the future person, and you go, I'm going to start committing sex crimes here because I have faith that in their base reality they'll be held to account. And there's probably a whole kind of, there's a separate legal trial in whatever place this entity dwells.
Or essentially, they're
city.
just powerful heterosexual men with a lot of money that could exploit their position.
I think heterosexual's pushing it in Diddy's case. I think he's he's panning a lot of stuff.
It's panning for gold. And he's finding nothing.
He sees it, he's fucking panning it.
Did he do the bumming? I don't think he did.
There's audio bumming. You not heard this?
Wow!
It's crazy.
It's
Can I recreate it?
Oh, come on! Jesus, that sounds like this fucking Deliverance, man.
It's very much Beverly Hills Deliverance.
Just
Very murky.
lubed up. Everybody lubed up. Just lube up the
this
pig.
guy, you know, for all the lube in that house, it doesn't sound like this guy had enough lube.
Jesus. Jesus.
Just my luck. Puppy dry butt.
Alanis Morissette's ironic as possible.
Oh, wow.
That's a thought, innit?
That's
That's a thought.
enough lube.
What's I thought? Is that what public transport does to you?
It does now because I'm in the kind of commuter train I'm like a fucking Reggie Perrin coming in from the suburbs now.
Used to be a
to be a
subway
Subway.
guy, a city boy. Now
Yeah.
you're out now.
Out in the sticks. But
But
it
it's-
did mean I had a lovely hot tub last night
Mhm.
with my extra space. My dad came round, killed the garden, which is his way of showing love. Mowed everything down to a fucking stubble. And,
Including your hair.
and I had a wee hot tub and watched a movie. It was pretty good.
That's a nice night. And I went to, I was going home and I nipped in to see my hairdresser 'cause, and he had just left. And I'd sent him a wee text. He went, "Oh, I'm in the pub getting some food. Come round." So we did. I went round. I had a little half pint of Guinness and a little old man's mug. It was great. And then we done the pub quiz. It
Did
was
you
good.
win?
We won.
Wow.
We won. So, right, I'm going to ask you this question.
Throws the ball.
So, 5 questions in the last round, but you had to get a pointless answer, a la Richard Osman's game, right?
Nice.
So you either think out the box or you go standard in the hope that nobody else would do it, right? So, here's a question. In McDonald's, name something you would buy. Pointless answer, please.
Apple slices.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to go around that way.
Still Fanta is what my mum always got from the drive-through, and you'd be like, "That isn't a thing," but it is. I'll go for apple. Sorry for stealing another one.
Ketchup.
Ketchup? My mate said a bag. A fucking great answer, innit? Great answer.
It's technically true.
It is technically true. So also the average age was maybe about, I don't know, 25, 26 in the pub. And they asked for a famous Daniel, and pretty much every team went Daniel O'Donnell, and we went
Really?
Daniel Fergus McGrain. Nobody got that.
So this was an Irish bar.
No.
No?
It was the Amsterdam, the old Brunswick. It was very funny.
Everybody said Daniel O'Donnell?
Aye. Now tell me this. What do you class as a southpaw?
A boxer who would set up with the right foot forward
And then come from
using
underneath.
the right hand lead and have their left hand as their rear hand.
Yeah, I would say a left-hand boxer.
A left-hand boxer, a left-hand boxer, a left-hand boxer. This guy, this quizmaster, tried to tell us it was right-handed, and we went, no.
Well, it depends what he means. He's standing on his right foot.
Aye,
He has his left foot to the rear and he's set up like
like that. But
right lead.
you're going to go with your left, aren't you, if you're a southpaw?
That's your power hand.
Aye. So, and he said, well, it's right. And eventually he realised that he was just fucked it and gave everybody the point.
Did they find out that you were a southpaw that
He
night?
did, aye.
People who fight southpaw are left-handed.
Yes.
Yeah, but ultimately all boxers are ambidextrous to an extent.
Oh, until their brain falls into
Aye,
fucking
then
mush,
the-
then they can't do
They're
it.
a lot more ambidextrous than us.
Yeah, I would say so.
And their brains are already.
I had a quite scar. I didn't do pub quizzes for many years because I had a incident where I met up with some friends from school. Went to, I believe it was, where was it? It was somewhere. I think it was in Ashton Lane. Vodka, one of these places. Whatever used to be what's now Innocent Gun, and it was Ketchup for a while. I think
I
whatever.
hope this is really important to the story.
No, it's not.
The last 5 people that held the licence for knew where the story occurs.
I just want people to picture it in their mind's eye, Frankie. All right.
Okay.
I remember I was reading the Wind Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami, and it was lightly made fun of for this, which is fine. And then it was like, what was Quentin Tarantino's first film? Now, what would you say?
Well, I guess it's a trick, but I would have said Reservoir Dogs.
What would you say?
I would have agreed.
That's what everybody in my group said. That's what I was like, no, I had a film before that was like a student film. This will be a trick question. It's like My Friend Vinny or something like that. My Cousin Vinny. It's not called My Cousin, that's a different film. But I knew the name of the film at the time, and I said, no, that's a trick. He had a film before that. It never came out, but he made a film. That wasn't his first film.
I would say I'd be thinking, how deep into history is the guy setting the quiz at Vodka going to go? I think he's going to go for Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah. Anyway, everybody felt it. I just was like, no, I wouldn't admit that I was wrong, basically. And then fell out with those people and did speak to them for like 12 years now.
Seems like you carry a lot of pain from your younger years, or a lot of like shame. You know, not to go all Brenny Brown here, do you know what I mean? But it seems to me that you kind of like beat yourself up for what is just really normal interactions that people have at that age, where we all behave a bit cringe. And like, I think you sort of, as you get older, you just got to go, yes, everybody does shit like that.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself, Christopher.
I forgive myself.
Wait till you listen back to this podcast in 20 years' time.
God. Why was I such a cunt?
I'm going to have to send Andy a note from yesterday's session. Can we make sure we don't say that we support Al-Qaeda? Because I remember
I don't remember.
I said
that.
something like hats off to some kind of prescribed.
Hats off to ISIS.
Let's, because they're going to get tighter about all of that stuff.
Oh.
So all the things that are
A global or in the
Britain,
UK government?
well, both.
Oh.
But in the UK government, which is more worrying for general pop, Al-Qaeda are prescribed, Hezbollah, ISIS, all that kind of stuff. And joking about those things, I think, will start to become more fraught.
Well, today on the social media, I seen the full fucking pallet tower that's been built with the.
Oh yeah.
So traditionally, in the 12th of July in Northern Ireland, they would build their pallets, put their flags on it, and then have an effigy of the Pope. But obviously, it's a new Pope, so they've not had that long a time to get together with an effigy. So they've done a fucking canoe of the immigrants.
Right.
And it says "Stop the Boats." And I'm like, why is fucking Keir Starmer not coming out and talking about that? Why are you talking about a fucking Irish language rap group at Glastonbury, but not the actual population of this country, people in this fucking country doing that? Because that is one step away from a white pillowcase with your eyes out and a burning cross. Fucking awful.
Yeah.
There is a thing, I think there's sometimes with anti-Semitism as well, right, where people go, oh, if you look at the reported instances of anti-Semitism, it's not that big a thing, but you know it's there.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? You know it's there because you've heard it or you've overheard it or whatever, and you can see why Jewish people are kind of attuned to that.
Yeah.
And there is an anti-Irish thing in Scotland, an anti-Catholic thing that doesn't really appear, you know, in the boldest terms, but you fucking know it's there.
It doesn't appear in the boldest terms as it once did for like your father's generation.
Yeah.
So like, I remember having this conversation with my dad one day, and he said to me, like, so he went in and told his dad he'd bought a house, a flat, 1969, and his dad was like, son, people like us don't buy houses, right? Which was a very much that kind of social class thing. And then my dad said, he said 2 years before that, he said, I seen the Lisbon Lions win the European Cup. He said, and that actually wasn't about, he goes, much as what I was a Celtic fan and stuff and a Catholic, he went, I didn't grow up knowing doctors and lawyers. He was like, we lived in Pollock. We didn't know those people. And he said, and I certainly didn't know any Catholic ones, and I certainly didn't know any successful Catholics. This country needs to get a fucking grip of itself and kind of acknowledge the contribution of what the Irish done, like in this country, and what they contributed, and they will never do it. And then you see things like that in Belfast and stuff, and you're just like, fuck me, man. That
So
to me,
for it to have gone on for so long, so many years of our lives.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I mean? Because when you were like 20, you were like, well, in a decade's time, this will surely have diluted. Life's moving on. Do you know what I mean? Battle of the Boyne and fucking all that stuff. And it's still there.
It's still in your Google Calendar, you know, Battle of the Boyne.
Aye, and I mean, there it so was obviously the walk was out, so I should say to the listeners, for those of you that aren't Scottish, the Orange Walk, the 12th of July is what it is in Northern Ireland, but in Scotland we have it the weekend before. And let me tell you, there's no fucking doctors or lawyers walking in those marches either. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're really talking about a kind of class of people that that have that Protestant entitlement of we are the people, but yet not really making their way in the world or making a difference or anything like that. They just don a hat, play a drum, and everything's going to be all right.
I'd say this though. Watch the people who line up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because they are professional people. You see people in suits and people with wings and all that. Oh, yeah, it is. Because they recognise that as part of their team and part of the thing that produces the hegemony in Scotland is the fact. And in fact, when they had the independence referendum, remember the BBC was going, there's been a pro-union march and and you're like, it's a fucking orange walk. You know?
When I went for a swim in the sauna the other day, there was a young lad in the sauna and he just started chatting to me and he was like, oh, what do you do? And you know, it's one of the ones you don't really want to tell what you do.
What do you say?
I was like, oh, I'm like a writer and a podcaster and stuff like that, right? Because you go...
Oh.
I go full on lie. Do you full on lie? In
Tech.
a cab, I say...
IT.
IT is good.
That's boring. You don't want to talk about it.
I work on the cooling systems for data centres.
Wow.
If you've not recognised
Yeah.
me, if you've not recognised me in a cabbie, I work on, and that shuts it down every time because it's two boring things together.
That's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
That's genius. Wow. So it's
'Cause
like
the
you
thing
two work
is-
together then, really.
Because it's like the issue is I believe that neurodivergence is extremely strong within the taxi driver community because the test to become a taxi driver, you need to memorise so much stuff. It's kind of impossible if you're not a bit tapped. So, and I mean that in a kind way.
Tapped.
Tapped by the hand of God.
Neurodiverse and tapped in the one sentence.
No.
Right? Andy, cut that out and redo that sentence.
No, the Almighty's left his fingerprint on your forehead. If in my opinion, if to become a taxi driver, you know, you need to, like, a London cabbie has to memorise. Frankly,
But a Glasgow cabbie, they barely fucking know where they're going. And it's like...
They're too busy going, what'd you make of that Nicola Sturgeon? And you're like, what about her? They're like, she's got a book.
If they invested the time they spent researching trans issues into memorising the streets of Glasgow...
I've had taxi drivers go, I don't go to that bit of Glasgow. I don't know that bit. I'm like, what? I'm a Southside taxi driver. I don't know any East End. You're like, come on.
Fuck's sake, man.
It's a motorway. Just get in the motorway.
It's when they go, I'm not going that way. You're like, you've really misunderstood this job.
Anyway, what was it with this guy?
What was that?
In the sauna with the guy.
All right, so this young lad's like, blah, 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 what'd you do? So we're chatting away. I said, what'd you do? He goes, I was landscaping there, but I'm going to start being a joinery apprentice. And I went, oh, what did you do? He went 18. And I was like, right, he went, but if we're going to war, I'm going to join the paratroopers. Right? And I just went, what? And he went, aye. And I went, what? Why would you do that? He went, well, I'm a big Rangers fan. Right? And to which I was like, you know that your football team is just a whole load of millionaires kicking a ball about. It's not really a mindset and an ethos. They're just doing their job. And he was like, aye. And I went, 18, you're going to go and fight for a government? He was like, what do you mean? I went, so a government's going to put you to war? And he goes, aye. He goes, I became a dad 6 months ago. And I went, right, wait a minute, son, you've got a 6-month-old kid, you're 18, and you're going to die for a government that do not give a fuck about you. And he was like, what do you mean? And I went, son, you need to go and read up in history. I said, because boys like you are cannon fodder. I said, but see the people in power, their boys don't go to war. He was like, right. I was like, just go and learn how to work a tape measure and cut some wood, mate. Like, that's...
It's like the worst plan, because like you join the army if you think we're no going to war.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? That we can get a steady wage and get fit or whatever people think they're getting out of it, right? Like, but if you're like, I'm going to join when we are going to war, so I get fucking 300 quid a week to be parachuted with a machine gun into fucking Iran.
Fucking wild.
That's like the worst plan anyone's ever had.
Wild. So I once had a member of my family, a young kid, say to me, I'm going to go into the army and I'm going to get a trade, and then I'll come out the army with my trade, and I just was like, whoa, what? I says, fuck, get into the army. I was like, You just go and get a trade. I said, so you're going to get a trade and get paid half the money and get shot at and have somebody shout at you, or you could just work, 8 till 4 every day and get a half day and a Friday and get paid double the money and go home. And he was like, right. And I was like, right. But from his perspective, I understood it because in his head he was about leaving home. So I get it, right? But I was
what
like,
this wee guy wants to do is become a joiner and start making coffins. Do you know what I mean?
For
If
his
there's a war on, pal, get a fucking...
Also, we're not going to be fucking shooting people. It's all drones.
Yeah.
It's like when Keir Starmer came out and went, yeah, we're going to use 15 new submarines. What's the fucking point? It's drones.
The wee guys with like asthma and that in the basement, so essentially a fucking modern samurai.
Fucking wild, man. But isn't that mental that he's like, I'm a big Rangers fan, so I'm going to join the army? I was like,
I think saying that you want to join the army is a kind of socially acceptable way of saying that you want to kill yourself. Do you know what I mean? You can kind of go, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to be over there being shot. But no one's worried about you. You can kind of
remember the other day Bill Hicks had a bit about like it was like gays in the military, and he was like, I want gays to be allowed in the military because anyone that's wanting to be in the military should just go and die, and you sort of think that's kind of an example of something you just couldn't say now, because the minute that turns into a tabloid headline of so and so says like he wants to see British soldiers die, like suddenly there's just all these trained killers.
Well, it's kind of for people who want to kill people and who want to die, isn't it? And we need to do something with those people in society, so fair enough. You can't have them in Morrison's. Suicidal, homicidal cashiers.
There's no cashiers left.
No,
Christopher.
exactly. Well, that's it, exactly. There's no jobs for these people.
There's no jobs. Put them in. But you know what I mean? I could understand, like, if you grew up at a time when there was no jobs and you were like, well, I'm just going to go and join the military because I can get out of here and I can go and kind of see the world and do my life and all that, because you had no prospects. There's fucking hundreds of jobs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's loads in construction. So it's like, it's going to be a job.
See, growing up, everybody thought about joining the army or joining the cops, even though you're, like, say you're from a household that's kind of socialist or you're a Catholic or whatever. You're just like, if you fail your fucking exams,
that was your option.
One of the only things where you can are going to take you, where you can get a steady wage, is the army. And also you're offered a kind of, you think, a kind of camaraderie or support that's kind of absent from your communities at that point, and it's kind of absent from parenting in Scotland and stuff like that. I know tons of people who are just like, oh, that's right, and dads and stuff like that, who all thought about joining the army.
I know someone who joined the military age 16 and a half, and I completely understand why they done it. On the table at the same time was a scholarship to go and work for Beecham's, or GlaxoSmithKline as it is now, and they were going to do university, pay for the uni and live. That would have meant them being in Brighton in the late 80s learning how to mix chemicals. And let me tell you, that also would have been a fucking disaster, right? So it was like, join the military or do that or stay in Glasgow on a YTS, right, where, you're going to get sacked. And even now, like, looking back, they're like that to me. I am so glad I never took that fucking Beecham's job. That would have been a
What happened? Did it explode?
What?
What happened?
What do you mean?
With Beecham's?
They just, because that was just you hitting the tip of rave culture.
Oh.
So if they had access to chemicals to make drugs, they'd probably been a fucking yacht. Aye, it would have been though, wouldn't it? You imagine you're 18 years old, you're living away from home, and you've got access to all these fucking chemicals, and you know how to mix shit. You would have fucking made a fortune, but also you'd either be dead or in prison.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or a successful DJ.
Or I'm saying nothing. I'm saying nothing about that.
My pal went to army recruitment, and he's a big fit guy, and he says, like, they just, you go in there and they're like, oh, all over it, and he said they got the thing in front of him to sign, right? So he's gone through the whole interview and stuff, not like, just sign this before you go. And the guy turns to get my pen, and he says he sees the guy that's recruiting him sees this woman in the doorway and just gives her a wee smile, and he went, it was like the most chilling thing, like they were having a fucking got this cunt kind of moment. And he went, do you know what? I'm not going to sign it. He walked out, and he said it was like looking at the eyes of an insect when he said no to the guy. The guy just kind of glazed over.
Yeah.
Fucking wild. The stories that you hear about from the different kind of section of the forces about the other bit, like you know, like the Navy and the Air Force will talk about the Army and they're like, fuck that. Like, that's fucking outrageous. Do you know what I mean?
Really?
Aye, because the Army is very much, it's just cannon fodder. That's
Right.
all you are. And like the other two, you can tend to go in and you can get an engineering career and you can do all kind of different stuff that's not fucking running up and down fields with a backpack on. Whereas the Army's just, we're going to train you into being a killing machine.
Right.
Because you're from that class, but if you're from that class, we'll send you to Sandhurst so you can train people to be a killing machine. And that's all it is.
There's an aircraft carrier that's out in, you know, one of our kind of like far edge things out for like out in the Pacific, where they reckon that in the event of a nuclear exchange, in the event of things breaking down with China, this thing has 4 seconds to do anything before it's taken out by what's called the Dong missile. Dong 2 or possibly Dong 3 now.
Wow.
It's just fucking trained on this thing, and they all just know that they're there with all this stuff presenting Britain's power in the world or whatever, but they know that they're vaporised in 4 seconds.
4
Fuck
seconds.
that, man.
Wow.
I mean, that'll be us if anybody attacks Faslane, but hey.
And nobody gives a fuck across Britain, man. The whole left, the whole right, the whole fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Anytime, like during the election with Corbyn on it, you would go, I don't really like Labour supporting Trident or the renewal of Trident. People like, you know, silly
Get on
Scottish,
board.
silly Scottish people not cheering hard enough. Cheer harder. Why don't you love our leader more?
It's not about having the weapons, it's the power that gives you at the table. Oh, fuck off. We have no power. Look at the state of the world. You know, it's like, oh, if you've got nuclear weapons, you get a veto. Great.
We're an aircraft hangar for the world's biggest psychopaths.
Yep, that's exactly what we are.
We're currently busy taking money away from budgets to send children with learning disabilities to school so that we can buy 12 nuclear capable aircraft that will carry bombs that we don't own and cannot authorise the launch of for America. Just a massive $1 billion subsidy, like, and the rest of it. I mean, they don't even tell us the figures.
No.
Right? So, you know, that's where we've got to.
It's just fucking bleak, innit?
It's like, you know, in The Sopranos, where there's those guys that have got to kick up all the time.
Yep, yep.
And they're working away and they're just fucking, they've got nothing.
The Jewish motel.
Eugene. It's when Eugene then just goes and he's like, this is my road out. I've inherited a bit of money and I can go to Florida and live my life. And Tony's like, you don't get to leave this life. And Eugene just goes into the basement and fucking breaks the old neck.
That's NATO. Do you know what I mean? Anytime they get a fucking new leader in at NATO, they go, hi guys, everybody just needs to buy more weapons.
Totally.
They're essentially like a salesman for Raytheon, right? Or Lockheed Martin. And they just come in and they go, we really need to get those fucking budgets up. And now Keir Starmer's got 5% of GDP in a country where you're not allowed to have 2 children or you won't get any more benefits. Like a fucking fairy story.
Yeah.
There was a land where you couldn't have more than 2 children. You know? These cunts are fucking, yeah, we need to get more money into fighting against what? 1970s Russia? Russia's stuck in Ukraine, which is like right beside, Russia's going to plough right across the whole of fucking Europe, Poland, Germany, France, and then eventually fucking come and get, well, by then, come and take us.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? You're kind of running the world. We might as well join in.
Yeah, with your fucking broken down tanks.
Well, like, as if they're fucking...
The thing is, Russia's never actually changed either. Russia is like, well, this is how we've always fought a war, so this is how we fight a war. So they've never actually kind of, you know, upgraded or anything like that. They're still doing their fucking military parades with really old, shitey weapons. And you're like, we don't need 5% of GDP to protect us from Putin. And ultimately, see, between America and the fucking rest of Europe, you could all take him out if you wanted to. but you're not.
But here's another thing. See, in the Ukraine war, it's all drones, right? So it's largely a kind of like technological conflict. And that gets sold to us as that's why you need more money for boats. And you're kind of like, what? That's why you need
I
money
don't
for the
understand how
shit
the
that
Navy
doesn't
still
work.
exists. I don't understand. There's not
It's
been
a gay thing. It's a homophobic thing.
100%.
You need to get all the gay people off land. You know, it's a homophobic culture. So historically, they've just gone, get them on this thing. We'll pretend it's a kind of branched armed forces. It can't. Why would you need a whole load of guys in the middle of the sea, right? So they're all in there fucking. They have that kind of flat thing on the aircraft carrier where they do dance shows, and they go line dancing past like the Gulf states to torment them, and they're all called, you know, HMS Destroyer. You know, they're all called like kind of dildo names and Queen Mary and fucking like gay names.
Wow. What was that thing with Rachel?
Rum, bum, and backy fun.
But then the really hardcore guys, they have to go on the submarines.
Oof.
Do you know what I
I mean,
They
nothing.
can't see the sun.
Nothing says gay more than the shape of a submarine.
I mean,
The periscope says a lot.
Yeah. I think the Navy thing's really funny though, because they tend to, like, they still talk about like Nelson and shit like that, and you're like, what the actual fuck? Do you know what I mean? Like, still talk about the Spanish Armada as if it was like last week. You're like, it's this fucking ancient kind of tribe thing, isn't it? Where it's like, well, the Navy, you know, ruled the seas of the British Empire, and you're like, that's not really.
What was going on with Rachel Reeves when she was crying there? What was that all about? She didn't pass a thing about disabled people getting their money taken off.
she didn't get to take benefits off some of the country's most oppressed disabled people, and wept. But in reality, it would be some Illuminati thing, wouldn't it? It would be like if you've listened to previous episodes, she's heard that things are going really badly against the Jotunheim giants or whoever. Well, who are we fighting at the moment in Ukraine? Probably a band of werewolves and vampires and so on.
Definitely.
Would haunt that kind of place.
What's the kind of Baba Yaga, perhaps?
Baba Yaga might be in the mix.
Yeah.
And Rachel Reeves has got a note past her. It's going badly with Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga's house's chicken legs that it runs around on have grown in size. And she wept openly in the House of Commons.
You might want to go back, I think, 3 episodes if you're not understanding this.
And it won't help.
She was crying because she thought she was going to lose her job and she was going to need to get some fucking unemployment benefit. That fucking Labour Party's a disgrace. That's all I'm saying.
What's going on with her hair, by the way? It's like a chemo wig.
No, perhaps.
Fuck me. Jesus
Perhaps.
Christ.
That would make sense why she was crying. Yeah.
With the fucking tapped, with the chemo. What the fuck has happened?
What I meant by the tap thing is
What does tapped mean then? Does tapped have some...
It's
All right, that people go like that?
like your
But that's one of those things, isn't it? That's like, because it's so archaic, the actual meaning has been lost. So I think a lot of people would say that innocently. Do you know what I mean? I think he said that quite innocently.
That's innocent. Mental health. You should be able to go to the doctors and go, and they'll go, right, here you go.
As I've often said about mental health, like, I'm all for this, Leah. Let's people be more open and talk about their mental health and all that. But there's mental illness, and like, those are different things.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you feeling a tightness in your chest when you go into a busy train station is not the same as some guy thinking The Wire TV show is talking to him
Yeah.
and is about him.
Yeah.
And like, if you're going to be all for mental health, you need to have more funding for
Yeah.
beds for mentally ill people, because that is...
That's exactly the way what this country has managed to do is consider mental health the same as mental illness, and the same way that we call the living wage and the minimum wage the living wage as if it's the same fucking thing, and it's not. And we've done the exact same with mental health and mental illness. I was talking to, again, friend of the show, Mr. Scott Agnew, and we were saying how there's so many people that you see now walking, and I know Glasgow's always had that element of madness, right? But there's so many people that you
Scott's
see.
a real chronicler of Glasgow's madness.
Aye. Would shoot you where he stays, really. But you see a level of mental illness, people walking about who are clearly mentally ill, like fucking shouting and hurting themselves, and they're not doing anything to anyone else. But they need help. Can I tell you about an argument I got into the other week?
Yes, of course.
So I might have been it was a Saturday after my wee dad passed, right, on a Thursday, and I went to the Snaffle bit in the West End, a nice pub, and I was just sat outside. It was a scorching sunny day. I was sitting there. I wasn't even drinking, and a homeless immigrant guy comes past, right, clearly an immigrant. He's got a blanket. He's a bit dirty looking. And he's like, do you have any spare change? Spare change. So it's like, aye, mate, there you go, right? So he walks away and he comes back 10 minutes later and he's talking to himself, right? He's just talking to himself and he's like, oh, very bad, very bad. And this young guy at the table who's sitting with what looked like his parents starts shouting abuse at him. So obviously I was like, I don't think you should be shouting abuse at a homeless immigrant, right? And the person I was with, she just went, oh no. And the guy was like, I'm homeless. And I was like, with all due respect, you're sitting there with a pint of Beavertown, a bag of crisps, and you're wearing a pair of Ray-Bans. That is the best homeless life I have ever seen, my friend, right? He was like, I said, look, the guy's clearly not well. You don't need to shout at him. He's like, what'd you do for the homeless? And I was like, well, what I do for the homeless is like I gave him some change, but that's all I had. And he was like, well, you don't know my situation. So then the mum turns round and she's got her hand and she's like, everybody's entitled to their opinion. And I was like, actually, not if you're just shouting abuse at somebody who's homeless. That's not an opinion.
That's a stretch of the word opinion, isn't it?
Right. And she was like, well, and I was like, nah, I don't really care. So this guy just turned around and he went, I think you're wrong. He went, I am homeless. And I was like, okay. I said, who's this you're sitting with? And he was like, well, family. And I went, so you're sitting having a pint with family who have let you become homeless? And he just kind of like didn't know what to say. And they were like, well. And I was like, all right. I says, or maybe you're not homeless. Maybe you're just saying that. Maybe it's just the fact that you've just shouted at a homeless immigrant. He's like, do you think people should be walking around the streets of Glasgow shouting at the population of Glasgow? I went, mate, there was about 5,000 people in an Orange March today out shouting. What fucking difference does one wee homeless guy make?
Good luck making Glasgow shush.
I was just like, what the actual fuck? Do you know what I mean? This guy was maybe about 25, 26, and I was just like, oh, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? Just like, it's a fucking homeless immigrant. And then they went, how do you know he was an immigrant? And I was like, because I have fucking eyes and ears, right? He clearly is not from this country. He's not been born in this country. He's talking in broken English. Yeah, well, you're just making a judgment on that. And I was like, do you know what, you pedantic cunts, can you not just say that maybe I shouldn't have shouted at a fucking homeless immigrant?
No one ever backs down anymore, man. Imagine, it's clearly you shouldn't do it, right? But imagine the feeling of leathering a family.
I'd love to.
Just leathering the fucking guy, the dad, the ma, everybody, man.
Uncle comes over, jaws ripped off.
Fucking right. I would happily have fucking leathered them.
Femurs snapped under the weight of my crotch.
You'd always look back on that. Do you know what I mean? When you're an old guy, like, remember that time I leathered? I did 3 years, but I did leather that family.
Remember the time I leathered a family and 2 of them were pensioners? Fuck's sake. I took their bus pass off them. Fuck them.
That'd be great.
It just made me really fucking sad. Do you know
I think
what I mean?
that's empowered now. So that, stochastic terrorism, that idea that if you say stuff like, there's a lot of people in this country who, shouldn't be here or whatever, and then someone goes and burns down a fucking asylum seekers hotel or something, you're kind of encouraging that. You're giving license for that, right? And there's so much of that now that you can see it starting to bubble to the surface.
I just thought, like, do you know what? How fucking dare you look down your nose at someone? And then for him to sit and be like, well, I mean, I'm homeless. And he's like, my Ray-Bans are fake. And I was like, well, that's good that while you've been homeless, you've managed to get a right good imitation sunglasses set. Like, fuck off. But interestingly, A little white guy walked past 10 minutes later, fucking shouting and screaming off his chops, never said a word to him. And you were like, oh, I see what the fucking problem is here.
Yeah.
Brown skin. Horrible. Horrible.
It's
Horrible.
that thing as well now where everybody's the oppressor and the oppressed. Do you know what I mean? Where they're like, yeah, no, I fucking don't like these people, and I'm kind of doing worse. I'm kind of the real.
I'm the victim
I'm the
here.
real thing.
Yeah. Aye. I mean, I was all for just fucking cracking him in the jaw, but as the person I was with pointed out, you should not be getting into these discussions. And I was like, well, fuck them. It's the right thing to do. You don't be fucking picking on homeless people. How much do you hate yourself that to feel better you need to pick on the most vulnerable in your society? Do you know what I mean? And that's what that was. Just a wee dick that hadn't been leathered enough at school, in my opinion. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
What I meant by I believe that a lot of taxi drivers are neurodivergent is it's hard to lie to them because they have a lot of knowledge about things. So if you say, oh, I'm a rocket scientist, they might have a kind of Raymond Mearnsian understanding of rocket science and go, oh, what is it, the type of jet is
Footnote,
that?
Raymond Mearns, a polymathic Scottish improvisational stand-up comedian.
Yeah, so there's a lot of crowd work. He's like, and they're like, oh, I work on a submarine. He's like, what submarine is that? Nuclear? And he just knows all about submarines. And you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, man.
I once watched Raymond do 15 minutes on photovoltaic panels and nobody else in the room had a fucking clue what he's talking about. Obviously, I knew because it was part of my job being a spark. And he's like, again, what size isolator's that? And what size a breaker goes into the district? And I was just like, fuck. I don't know how we get jokes out of this, but somehow we managed it.
He can do everything
He can do
except his time.
He's
Do
great.
3 minutes about the fucking panels, Raymond, before you get a headliner on. That's what
Aye.
you're booked for.
But he's something else, man. When he's on it, he's on it to watch. And
I had a great chat with him one time. We drove back for somewhere, some gig he was doing in Largs or something like that. And he just told me all about his UFO. He was a ufologist for quite a while and told me all about his trips out with the UFO people and all. It's just brilliant.
I just love someone who can have that extreme and passion and knowledge about something and then just go, I'm not a ufologist anymore. Like most people are like, I'm in, flat earthers are in it and that's them for the rest of their life. But to be like a Bonnie Bridge going UFO person and then you're like, I don't do that anymore.
he's genuinely like, to watch him on a stage, and even just like you're saying, to sit in a car with him, he's fucking class. Like he's just got stuff going on, and his brain is very interesting, massively undiagnosed neurodivergent, I would say.
Can we call him tapped?
Well,
'Cause he's
I
fucking
think
tapped.
tapped is actually, people think that it means tap in the head, but I think it's like from medieval times when you would have something genuinely tapped, like you'd have a tap.
Oh, you mean like trepanning?
Yeah.
This is a thing, right? Do you know when Grenfell Tower happened, right? They had a Tory council and the housing officer was this guy, Rock Fielding Mellon. That was his name.
Rock Fielding Mellon?
Right. He's a dead posh guy with kind of ringlets and stuff. And he was part of this mad family who had this country estate somewhere, like from, the 16th century or 15th century, that has the world's largest gravity fountain, which has this basically a jet of water that shoots right up into the air. And that's the one thing probably that could have put out Grenfell. Rockfield and Mellon had it back in his garden. But his maw, this crazy fucking family, his maw was like an aristo, and she had started this political party called Trepanning on the National Health. And stood in elections to say, look, we should be able to get a fucking hole drilled between our eyes to
Let demons out.
I fucking love it. This is where reform's going to take us, man. This is where reform will take us.
Here's the thing. People frown on trepanning. We all have days when we go, if someone could just put a fucking hole in my head to let out the pressure, it would do all of us a bit of good, I think. Anyway, it's been a great week. Anytime I see a diagram or a medieval wood action about fucking trepanning, I'm like, I could go on a trepan. No,
What a boy.
you've never felt the need, just a wee. You never see you're never in B&Q and you're like,
Just
well.
stick that right through my nut.
This is why you can never work in a building site. They
Well,
just can't trust you with
it's
these
too
tools.
tempting.
It's
Too
too
Keep your eye on him, he'll be a fucking preparing himself.
There'd be a big fucking wood bit.
What was it I was doing? I was putting something up my nose or something,
Jesus.
and I was just like, it just felt like, get this away from me. I'm going to put it more up. It's really
Was it
tempting.
poppers?
It might have been poppers. It was like a COVID test or something.
Oh, right.
Oh, I fucking hated
Remember
them.
that?
Yeah, that was wild.
What a wild period.
Oh, mental, man. That fucking thing. Like, I couldn't do it. My
And
gag
nobody
got
knew, how nobody, it's like get it up there, swirl it around for like such a time, put it in the water, hand it in. Great. I liked it.
Wild
I feel
times.
like different people had different standards. I feel like some people were just kind of almost like a game of Operation, trying not to touch the sides and then right back out in the water. I get to go on my holidays, There wasn't a lot of reward for doing it properly.
Oh, just not having COVID, I think, was probably the reward for it. What a mad fucking time. See, when you think back now, you're like, all of that was just mental. Wasn't it? In the house and...
Mental for the kids as well. You're just like, hey, there's a worldwide plague.
Yeah.
I've brought you into this world and it's not going so great.
We kind of knew it would happen eventually, but we thought, fuck it, we'll try it anyway.
Aye. It's mad. And we knew it was going to happen at some point, but we'll not bother doing pandemic planning. That was another thing we done, wasn't it?
I was right. So there's a bit in my autobiography from like 2009 or something like that about the pandemic.
Is
Like,
this
there's
the my
people
shit
were-
life so
Yeah,
far?
people knew that there might be a pandemic.
Yeah.
It was like SARS and stuff, wasn't it?
Oh, they were talking about it. They were talking about it for fucking years in pandemic planning, and we kept old stuff and didn't bother to renew it. So all the stuff that we had for a pandemic was fucking out of date.
I'm not defending Boris Johnson, right? But you shouldn't call your briefing for disease stuff Cobra. Because if someone says to me, you've got a Cobra meeting, I'd be like, well, that'll be snake related. And I don't think snakes are a great cause of concern for the country that I'm in charge of. But if they'd called that sneeze or cough, if it was the centre of unacceptable graphic, then I would. It starts with H, but it means sneezing or disease or something. Then I would have paid attention to it, and I think that if we could go back and change Cobra to cough.
Did you find part of your problem in the pandemic was that you forgot it was happening?
One of my favourite stories of Christopher in the pandemic was him saying to his girlfriend when she was like, yeah, I can't get to sleep, as everybody did. And he was like, just go out at 3 a.m. for a walk. And she was like, I can't really do that as a woman. And
I was
then
like, what?
I never thought about it. And then the whole, well, what should I do if I see a woman, and how do I make her feel safe? And you avoiding a woman to then cross the road while there was another woman walking on her own,
I was kind of
and just a taxi driver screaming at you for being in the middle of the road. It's just the most beautiful Christopher story.
Listen, I'm just trying to do my best.
Try to do your
everybody.
best,
I'm
son.
trying to get by.
People on both pavements fear I may rape them.
That was
So I'll just get myself killed with a
That
hackney.
was the subtext.
So good. So good.
Do you know what I do sometimes? I guess this is just killing two birds with one stone, but if I'm out walking at night, a lot of times I'll buy a pizza. Then I get to walk about with a pizza box, and I think it soothes everybody. When I was a wee guy, that was like a big genre of porn, was the kind of big sausage pizza it was called.
What?
And it was exactly what you described. Somebody would open the door and throw a pizza box and be cock.
What?
You'd be raging.
I've uninvented pornography.
That's brutal.
You don't see it a lot anymore. It's all fake taxi this and whatever, but back in the day it was big.
Is it fake though?
I don't know. I think he does have a taxi.
It's a real taxi.
Yeah.
I think with you and
Taxi's
your
real.
taxi contacts, you could find this out for us.
It's a guy banging some prostitutes in a taxi that he's hired.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's fucking weird.
I can't really get into that. I can't really get with that.
Because are you thinking, is the meter running?
Well, I bet that's the first thing the cunt does.
£6 surcharge. That's for the lube and the condoms, love.
If you've not seen it and you need a synopsis, basically she does it's like, oh, I can't pay for this, and he goes, oh, I can think of some way we can get around paying for it. It usually involves licking his sweaty taxi driver bumhole.
And on that note,
Sorry if we've lost a sponsor. Maybe Fake Taxi could sponsor us.
Another fine, possibly final episode of Here Comes the Guillotine.
bumhole licking and taxi drivers.
To me, it's like, if you like getting your bumhole licked, don't be a taxi driver, because you have the sweatiest bumhole of probably any job in the world, sitting on all day in a black cab. Anyway, let's go in the point kitchen now.
Let's do it.